be going through your no red ink assignment from the week of April 20th. I know some of you were struggling with it and some people haven't finished, so you can use this as a resource. You can use it as you're working through the assignment. Remember, you can always speed up or slow down the video and pause it as needed. So we're going to start with capitalizing basic titles. You do have the option of placing out and clicking the checkpoint if it's there for you. It might not be there for you, but let's go through. Before we begin, I want to take a look at the lesson so I know what I'm going to be asked to do, because I sometimes forget some of the in-between word rules. So the basic rule is, first you're going to capitalize the first and last word of all titles. So in this instance, my brother reads "Good night, moon," first and last word. You're also going to capitalize any in-between words except for the ones on this list. So your fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so, those will not be capitalized in a title. The following prepositions of, in, on, at, to, as, by, and with, and then your articles a, an, and the, unless it's the start of the title, in which case it will be capitalized. I sometimes forget which prepositions are or aren't capitalized, so I sometimes will have to refer to the list. It's perfectly fine if you need to do that. So in these examples here, every morning Gallon reads "The cat in the hat" while eating her cereal. Notice we've capitalized the and hat first and last, and then the words in the middle, cat, but in and the are the preposition and article that we do not capitalize. Same thing here. Once I finish the first chapter of The Lord of the Flies, we've got T, L, and F, and then a wrinkle in time, a wrinkle time, and then in is not capitalized. Remember that long form works, books, movies, television series are italicized. You're going to capitalize the first and last word of all titles. So this is talking about magazines, newspapers, publications like that. So you'll notice here, if the word "the" is part of a newspaper or magazine's title, capitalize it. But if it's not part of the title, do not capitalize it. So for instance, the title here is the San Francisco Chronicle. That's the name of the newspaper. So we capitalize "the" in this case. Wall Street Journal is just called Wall Street Journal, which sounds weird. We all call it the Wall Street Journal. But because it's not officially part of the title, you do not capitalize "the." And no red ink will tell you what the title of the newspapers or magazines are, so you will be able to know if it has "the" or "a" in it. So here's more examples. Oh, it's just the same thing over and over again with more examples. Well, that's good. So hopefully that is going to help you. And again, if you get stuck or you mess up while you're trying to do the practice, always go back to that lesson because it'll give you all of the information that you need. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to work on this first checkpoint. I'm going to talk you guys through what I am doing. Obviously, your sentences will not be the same as mine because I have different interests and no red ink will change up which questions you get, but they will look similar. So if you want to pause this right now and open up your assignment to follow along, please make sure you do that. So it's asking us to fix any capitalization errors below. So in this, mustering all of his courage, Gilderoy Lockhart stepped on stage to audition for Jersey Boys. Since Jersey Boys is in italics, I know that it's the title of something. I happen to know it's a musical. Audition might clue you in if you weren't sure. But because that is the title of the show itself, a long form work, it does get capitalized. George Washington refused to watch the movie Ratatouille because he's seen it too many times. Hopefully you knew Ratatouille was a movie. If not, go watch it immediately. It's excellent. But sentences will also provide hints as to what type of work it is to know how to format it. So here it says it's a movie. It does need to be capitalized, but it's already capitalized for us. Hoping to meet some new people, Hermione Granger invited her neighbors over to watch the season premiere of Gilmore Girls. Again, it's italicized. We know it's the name of the television show itself, so it will get capitalized as the title. Now, notice here it gives you the tip. Like I said, for magazines and newspapers, it will tell you the name of the publication. So the name of this publication is The New Yorker. Notice it has "the" in the title. So when we come down here, all parts of that are going to be capitalized, including "the," because that is the rule about the start of a magazine or newspaper title. You can also tell one of my interests is Harry Potter. So, concerned that he didn't have time to walk to the Crucible, Peter Pettigrew rode his skateboard to the theater. The Crucible is the name of a play, which again, going to the theater, it's italicized, we know it's a long form work, and it needs to be capitalized, first word, last word. It is, so I'm going to submit my answer. To respect his neighbors, Marquis de Lafayette closed the windows before belting out the song Yankee Doodle at full volume. Notice that this one is in quotes because it's a song, it's a short form, but it's still the title, so we need to capitalize the words of that title. I asked Minerva McGonagall to read me the poem The Raven before I went to bed. Gosh, this is like my dream here. You've got Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter and an Edgar Allan Poe poem, and she's reading it to me. Let's hope she said yes. Anyway, we know it's a poem, it's in quotes, but it is the official title, so we need to capitalize the first and last word of that title. Alexander Hamilton gave me a copy of the short story Golden Goose for my birthday. Again, it's in quotes, so it's a short story or a short form work, but it's the title, so it needs to be capitalized. Cedric Diggory finished reading Matilda on his vacation and had to buy a new book. That's a great book, but it's the title of a book, so it needs to be capitalized. William Shakespeare dressed as a character from the short story The Daisy for Halloween, but his friends didn't understand the costume. Ugh, so real. I dressed up as a character from a Broadway musical one year and no one knew who I was. It was very upsetting. So the title of our short story is The Daisy. First word, last word, both capitalized, so we can submit our answer. Again, it will tell you the name of the publication to help you out with your capitalization. Since Mr. Filch subscribes to the New York Times crossword puzzle, he feels compelled to do it every day. Because it's the title of the newspaper and it's told us that the is part of it, we are going to capitalize it. I don't have access to the crossword puzzle. It was too expensive. Eliza Hamilton added an extra verse to the song Let It Go to make me laugh. Song title, capitalized, capitalized, capitalized. Whenever he steps up to the plate in a kickball game, Ron Weasley recites the poem Nothing Gold Can Stay to calm his nerves. You might know that poem from The Outsiders. Title of a poem, so we capitalize all the words in it. Neville Longbottom and a writer for the show The Jetsons often go horseback riding together. Capitalization here, it's the title of a TV show, first word, last word. We can submit our answer. Quickly, Lucius Malfoy skimmed The Book Thief so that he could talk about the book with his friends. It says it's a book, it's in italics, first word, last word, and then the words in the middle. Severus Snape is not sure if watching the movie The Karate Kid every day is considered a hobby. Title of the movie, all words are capitalized in it that should be. It's a great movie. I don't know if I'd consider it a hobby, but given, how pandemic is going, I think watching Netflix is a hobby. So we've capitalized our basic titles, and we're going to go on to our next topic. After weeks of rehearsal, Aaron Burr and his pets were finally ready to perform Othello. Othello is the title of a Shakespeare play, needs to be capitalized. Cheered by the audience of Hairspray, Neville Longbottom bowed and collected the roses at his feet. Again, it's the title of a musical, so we need to capitalize it. Here we've got the tip about the publication's name to help us. Waiting at the dentist's office, Draco Malfoy became engrossed in the magazine The Economist and forgot about his sore tooth. Happily, Oliver Wood was chosen to play the hero in the production of Death of a Salesman. Death of a Salesman is the title of a play, but in this instance, we have too many words that are capitalized. So remember, if it's not the first word of the title, the, an, and a are going to be lowercase. And if it's one of those prepositions listed in the lesson, which if you didn't remember, you can always go back to it. I sometimes forget and have to go back as well. You do not capitalize of. So you would have your first word and your last word, but these words in the middle do not get capitalized. Relaxing on the couch, Thomas Jefferson decided to see whether there were any episodes of Phineas and Ferb on TV. So we've got the title of our TV show, but notice, and is not capitalized because it's one of our fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. And when it's not the first word of the title or the last word, it does not get capitalized. Vincent Crabbe decided to write a play based on the short tale Sleeping Beauty for his project. Our title is capitalized for our short story, Sleeping and Beauty. Insisting the movie was a classic, Hagrid made his cousin watch Rio. Never seen Rio, actually. It is a movie, it's in italics, but it needs to be capitalized. Professor Moody practiced his monologue from The Taming of the Shrew in front of his bathroom mirror. That's one of my least favorite Shakespeare plays. But remember, first word and last word need to be capitalized, and then all the words in the middle except for that list from the beginning. So taming needs to be capitalized, but of is one of those prepositions that does not get a capital letter, and the is one that does not as well. But notice the first word of the title, even though it's the, does get capitalized. Edgar Allan Poe wrote an adaptation of the story A Sound of Thunder and performed it for his class. You guys know that story. Well, some of you know that story. It's by Ray Bradbury. Same thing though. A, usually not capitalized unless it's the start or end of a title, so it stays capitalized. Sound and thunder, but of is not capitalized because it's one of those prepositions from our list. Cedric Diggory can play I'm a Little Teapot on the piano from memory. So, first word capitalized, last word capitalized. Let's look at the middle. A does not get capitalized. It's an article, but little does. Alexander Hamilton plays tennis with a friend who has memorized The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and several other stories. So, first word, last word, and now we look for the words in the middle. Curious, case, of does not get capitalized. It's one of those prepositions from our list, and then Benjamin. The teacher told Harry Potter to memorize the poem A Light Exists in Spring for extra credit. So our first word's capitalized, our last word is capitalized, and then we come to the middle, light exists, yep. In is one of those prepositions that does not get capitalized, so we can submit our answer. Here you've got a tip about the name of the publication to help you out. If Marquis de Lafayette had read the review in today's issue of the San Francisco Chronicle, he wouldn't have gone to that restaurant. Notice that this just is San Francisco Chronicle, so the right here is not part of the title itself. So we capitalize the first word and the last word, and then San Francisco is part of the town name, city name, so it all gets capital letters. Preparing for his road trip, George Washington bought the audiobook version of Twilight. Twilight's going to be capitalized because it's a title, it's one word, so we are good to go. William Shakespeare memorized The Mountain and the Squirrel by performing the poem over and over for his goldfish. So The Mountain and the Squirrel we know is a poem because it tells us. So we're going to capitalize our first word and our last word. And then we're going to come back and take a look at what's still in the rest of the title. So we need to capitalize mountain, but we do not capitalize and because it's a fanboy, and we do not capitalize the. Sirius Black wasn't sure who had written the poem Backward Bill and had to look it up. So we capitalize first word, last word. It's only 2 words. So that's our answer. Hermione Granger has several TV shirts featuring characters from the TV show Make It or Break It. So we know this is the title of the TV show, first word, last word, and then we come and capitalize those in the middle. Or is one of our fanboys, so it does not get capitalized. Minerva McGonagall asked me to memorize the story The Emperor's New Clothes and recite it to the students. So we're going to capitalize first word, last word, come look at the middle, Emperor's and New. Gilderoy Lockhart tried to convince his friends that he had played a minor role in the movie The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So we come here, title of a movie, first word, last word capitalized. We look at the words in the middle, Hunchback and Notre, I can't do a French accent, are capitalized, but of does not get capitalized. The students all memorized Ickle Me, Pickle Me, Tickle Me Too and recited the poem to Angelica Schuyler. So we come, first word, last word, and then we go through and capitalize all the other words that aren't part of our list. Ginny Weasley wants to make a movie adaptation of The Tale of Peter Rabbit in which all the characters are dinosaurs. I would watch that. So we come here, first word, capitalized already, capitalize our last word, and then we fill in the words in the middle. Tail gets capitalized, Peter gets capitalized, but we do not capitalize of. After Love is an Open Door finished playing, Severus Snape hit rewind and put it on again. So, first word's capitalized, last word's capitalized. We come through and look at the rest of them. Is an open. We do not capitalize an because it's one of our articles. Now we're going to look at the difference between long form and short form works. So, when you have a long form work, it is going to be in italics, the slanted font. When you have a short form work, it's going to be in quotation marks. So for this topic right here, you're only looking at how it's formatted to answer this question. So Friday is in quotation marks, so we know that it is a short form work. And if you weren't sure, you could look at the context. George Washington and I sang Friday in class so many times that our teacher started humming along. This tells us that it is a song, and song titles are short form works. Last summer, Hagrid spent all of his free time reading a series of unfortunate events in our treehouse. That's a book, it's italicized, it is a long form work. Albus Dumbledore dressed up as a creature from Where the Wild Things Are for Halloween. Italics, title of a book, long form work. On our way to the beach, William Shakespeare and I belted out Under the Sea over and over. Under the Sea is a song. It's in quotes, so it is a short form work. Lord Voldemort couldn't stop humming tunes from Beauty and the Beast during study hall. Italics, it's a movie, long form work. I taught Thomas Jefferson how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on the mandolin. It's a song, it's in quotes, short form work. Angelica Schuyler recited the poem The Walrus and the Carpenter in front of the whole school last night. Calls it a poem, it's in quotes, short form work. Peter Pettigrew is going to play the movie Toy Story for the kindergartners on Friday. Great choice, Peter Pettigrew. Italics, title of a movie, long form work. That was fast. Now we're going to master the formatting of titles. So now that we know what it should look like, No Red Ink is going to have us format it ourselves. So you're going to need to use the context of the sentence to figure out if you're looking at short form, which would mean it goes in quotes, or long form, which would mean it's italicized. So Luna Lovegood hums the tune Jingle Bells whenever she goes sledding. Jingle Bells is a song, hence the humming of the tune. Songs are short form works, which means it goes in quotes. After watching Finding Nemo for the first time, Ginny Weasley ran to the pet store to adopt a goldfish. Finding Nemo is the name of a movie. It is a long form work, which means it gets italicized. Ron Weasley sewed 6 sock puppets for his performance of Romeo and Juliet. That's the name of a play. It's a long form work, so it gets italicized. When Cedric Diggory read the fairy tale Puss in Boots to the audience, he wore fancy shoes. Fairy tale is a short story, which means that it goes in quotes. It is a short form work. After Gilderoy Lockhart read the article, Baby Seal Adoption Will Start Early, he immediately rushed to the beach. Now, this is probably not a title you recognize because it's not something that you read for school or maybe even a thing that exists. But notice it says right here, article. That clues us in. And because an article is a shorter part of a longer work, a newspaper, it is a short form work and it goes in quotes. Oliver Wood won a copy of the novel The Perks of Being a Wallflower at the annual book fair. It's a novel, which means it's long form work, which means it is italicized. When Edgar Allan Poe heard that the school play was going to be Othello, he immediately ran home to rehearse. That's the title of a play. See, it says that right here. It's a long form work. It is italicized. Vincent Crabbe thought his puppy's snoring sounded like the tune to the song Beautiful. Notice it says song right here, so you know it's a short form work. Short form works go in quotes. Harry Potter always cries when he reads the last chapter of A Wrinkle in Time. This phrase right here, last chapter, tells us that this is part of it's a book, which means it's a long form work, which means it is italicized. Mr. Filch used a fake name when he published the article Cats Are Better Than Dogs. Yes, they are, in the school newspaper. I'm just kidding. I have cats and dogs. I love them both equally, except Malcolm's my favorite pet I have, and he's a cat, so Now, notice that it says it's an article again. It's a shorter part of a bigger production, so it's going to go in quotes. It's an article title. Now we're going to practice this again, but at a slightly higher level, and we are going to have to format things on our own, not just saying whether or not it should be italicized or in quotes, but being able to format capitalization as well. So you're going to want to use the context in the sentences to help you figure out how you need to format it. So William Shakespeare mailed me a postcard with the poem Little Bo Peep written on the back. This is a poem. Poems are short form works, which means this should not be italicized. It should be in quotes. And we need to capitalize the words in it. First word, last word, and then the middle word as well. Albus Dumbledore refused to eat dinner until he had finished reading the book, Holes, to his puppy. Books are long form, so Holes needs to be italicized, and it already is, but it also needs to be capitalized as the title of a book. Wherever he goes, Severus Snape carries a copy of the poem Dreams in his pocket. It tells us it's a poem, which means it needs to be in quotation marks, which it is already. We also need to capitalize our title, which is already done for us. So we're good to go. We can submit our answer. Draco Malfoy only brought 3 books up to his treehouse, and The Hunger Games was one of them. Hunger Games is a book. It tells us that right here. It needs to be in italics, which it already is. However, we need to capitalize our titles. So first word and last word, the and games. And then we come back through and finish up with the middle. Peter Pettigrew used rhymes from the poem, A Poison Tree, as inspiration for his own work. So this is a poem, which means this should not be italicized, but instead should be in quotes. And then we need to figure out what needs to be capitalized. So first word, last word, and then anything in the middle that is not from our list of words that do not get capitalized. Minerva McGonagall memorized the poem The Road Not Taken in under 30 minutes. Tells us it's a poem, so it should not be italicized. It should be in quotes. And then we come back for capitalization, first word and last word. Go through the middle, road and not. So all of our words will be capitalized. Alexander Hamilton spends his Saturday morning sitting on a park bench and reading the book The Outsiders to the ducklings. So we know it's a book. They're both capitalized. They're both in italics. This is formatted correctly. Before Ron Weasley read Fahrenheit 451 in English class, he thought the book was about a very hot day. It's not. It's about burning books. But notice it says here it's a book, which means this should not be in quotes. It should be italicized, and it needs to be capitalized as the title of a book. And that is how you complete the assignment for capitalizing and formatting titles. I hope that helped. Good luck, and contact me if you have any more questions.